Controversial kickboxer turned internet guru Andrew Tate left UFC rising star Sean O'Malley confused with the bizarre message directed at him. It seemed as though maybe he wanted to fight, but the message was so vague it's hard to say what he meant. Here's everything we know about that. First off, what was in the confusing message? Tate, 35, is a former world champion kickboxer who's lately got a lot of attention for being extremely vocal about his unusual views on women and society. He also appeared on the reality TV show Big Brother and has been challenging YouTuber turned MMA fighter Jake Paul to a fight since he became a boxer. Whilst talking about the strange views of Tate on the Timbo Sugar Show podcast, O'Malley said that Tate messaged him out of the blue, a message which simply stated, "Let's do it." O'Malley was confused at the context of the text but replied nonetheless, even though he had no idea what Tate was referring to in the message. Andrew Tate apparently hit him up that same morning. The message was a rather cryptic one. It just read, "Let's do it." There was nothing after that, nothing before that, no hints as to what the "it" in the message actually was. O'Malley also revealed that he rather enjoyed some of Tate's views, such as his idea of having girls get their body counts on their foreheads. He hailed that idea as one of Tate's best. Tate's net worth is thought to be somewhere around £100 million after having several profitable business ventures with his brother Tristan, who also happens to be an ex-professional fighter. We're not sure if Tate was challenging O'Malley to a match with his text, but it's improbable considering how Tate weighs over 200 pounds and is 6 foot 2 inches tall, while O'Malley competes at 135 pounds in the UFC. Next up, this is not the first time Tate has challenged someone. Tate recently called himself to be the most top man in the world whilst comparing his search statistics to YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul, proclaiming that he's more famous than Paul, while pointing out the blue line on the charts as himself and the red one as Paul while looking at a graph of Google searches. He even went so far as to say that he'd totally win if they fought, and Paul knows that too. It really felt as though he was trying to rile him up and get a reaction out of him. We can definitely understand what Tate is trying to do here. He's already gotten plenty of popularity through everyone being scandalized by his controversial opinions on masculinity, money, and society, etc. He was catapulted to instant stardom not too long ago, and he just wants to top things off with a fight against Paul. It's a smart move. Both of them will get even more profit and fame through such a fight, regardless of who wins. As an ex-social media influencer who then went into the world of boxing, Paul has had pretty much the opposite trajectory as Tate. He claimed not to know who Tate is, but we saw him refer to himself as the top G in a recent TikTok video, which means that he kinda knows. Even though he publicly swore to crush Paul in a fight, Tate confessed he respects the YouTube star for making such a drastic career change and also managing to be really successful at it too. He knows that Paul has a lot of money and didn't need to do this. He put his reputation on the line, and that takes a lot of courage. He's also proven how serious he is about boxing, and he even revived the old school tradition of boxers trash talking each other and having feuds to get fans even more riled up for the show. Tate really enjoys that approach. Now, what's next for O'Malley? Sean O'Malley is going to take a big step up in his upcoming fight. He announced to ESPN's Ryan Clark recently that he'll be matching up against former bantamweight champion Peter Yan at UFC 280 on October 22nd in Abu Dhabi, UAE. O'Malley is one of the UFC's most talented new fighters. He even fought to a no contest at UFC 276 against Pedro Munoz because of a medical problem caused by an eye poke. It was later confirmed as a corneal abrasion. O'Malley fights out of Glendale, Arizona and is 7-1 with 1 NC in the UFC. He's getting the fight that not only he wanted, but so did everyone else. O'Malley told Clark that he's getting the fight that not only he wanted, but so did the people. For him, Peter is the top contender right now. He's more or less 1-1 against Aljo, and ought to be thought of as the champion. To go and face a guy like him would be really intense. Yan was defeated by Sterling at UFC 273 in April, when the two had a rematch for the bantamweight title. His boxing skills are one of the best in the sport, and this is going to be a test for O'Malley, who hasn't gone up against a striker of his caliber until now. Yan's rank currently stands at number 2 at bantamweight by ESPN. O'Malley is yet to be ranked. Next, in other news, O'Malley is going to be managing himself now. O'Malley is one of the rising young stars in the UFC, having created a brand for himself not only as a fighter but also as a streamer, podcaster, and YouTuber. With so many separate revenue streams, one would definitely expect O'Malley to have a group of managers behind him. However, Suga recently revealed he takes care of all of the business parts of his career all by himself. "I am my management," O'Malley explained this week on the MMA Hour. He's totally solo. He doesn't care to have a middleman taking a made-up portion of his money. He does his own deals and gets things done exactly the way he wants them. It's hard to argue with the logic behind what he's saying. If you want to get a job done right, more often than not, the best way to do it is yourself. He's also not the only fighter who has chosen to handle business themselves. Former UFC interim welterweight champion Colby Covington dropped his management management team and negotiated his recent fight with Jorge Masvidal all by himself. Following these guys' example, many other fighters are also choosing to make their own deals and negotiate their own fights. For O'Malley, it was a really simple choice. Why pay a manager some money for doing pretty much nothing? If he can take time out of his packed schedule to make his own deals, then hey, who are we to argue with that? For now, it looks like this is working out for O'Malley. He has a match coming up with Peter Yan. Let's not forget, this is a huge step up for a fighter who has yet to bag a top 10 win in the UFC, especially for one who formerly did not get along too well with the UFC matchmakers. Good for him. He's really made strides this year, and it looks like it only gets better for him from here on out. Next up, why Jake Paul vs. Hasim Rahman Jr. got canceled. Jake Paul and Hasim Rahman Jr. were going to meet in the ring on August 6th, but it's now been announced that the fight has been canceled because of a weight dispute. The statement from Jake's Most Valuable Promotions read, "On July 5th, Hasim Rahman Jr. signed a bout agreement to fight Jake Paul at a maximum weight of 200 pounds. It was agreed that Rahman couldn't lose more than 10% of his weight in the 4 weeks before the fight. However, that's apparently not what happened." According to MVP's statement, Rahman's camp reassured Paul's team that Rahman intended to weigh in at 215 pounds on Friday. Rahman had even signed a contract for a bout at 200 pounds, and in the statement, it was agreed that Paul was even willing to compromise and go ahead with the fight at 205 pounds. As per the statement, Rahman's camp said its fighter would forfeit from the fight if the bout wasn't at 215 pounds. In an Instagram video, Rahman admitted to signing the contract for 200 pounds in early July, but said his body wasn't letting him do it. He was talking about making the weight. Rahman asked why Paul's team was canceling the fight altogether and not waiting for him to get his weight all the way down. Rahman even said he would go up against Paul for the $5,000 minimum because that's how sure he was of himself winning. Lastly, UFC President Dana White blames ticket sales. Dana White is of the opinion that the match being canceled was more because of low ticket sales than Rahman's weight. He also openly admitted that he thinks that Jake Paul probably should get some different people around him, people who know how to sell more tickets and create hype. He was even asked for the verdict on the weight dispute. Dana added, "I think they sold under $1 million in tickets and it cost $500,000 to turn the lights on at MSG. He's probably right. It isn't cheap to get a stadium lit up." That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Tate wanting to fight O'Malley? Who do you think would win? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.